Okay. All right, I'll work on that during the show. I put I remember when you put a story in, it's always good to put the more break in there so that instead of having when you have a list, having that list start on the front page and be all jumbled up, it doesn't.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
So we moved the ball. We sustained some good drives. We were able to score some points in the red zone. Still too many penalties, some things we got to clean up. Guys being off for a day, getting acclimated to class. Thought we did some things that were a little bit uncharacteristic, but those were all correctable. But overall, it was good competition. Split it up, and guys were getting to go against guys that they may not have gotten to go against all camp. But overall, pretty good.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Welcome to Football Friday night in South Carolina. It is here. It is here. It is here. The first Friday night of the high school football season, week 0. And, boy, the high schools are getting off to a great start with some fabulous matchups around the state that will run through tomorrow. You've got Burns playing at Myrtle Beach. And tonight, some excellent matchups. David Shelton from the High School Sports Report and the Charleston Post and Courier will join us in a few minutes, as he does during high school football season on Friday night, to share with us his thoughts on some of the top games around the states. And, of course, we've got college football practice winding down. USC and afternoon, as did other teams around the state. No media access at USC today. Clemson is having media access with Dabo Sweeney. We'll bring some of that to you a little bit later on. Also, Brent Venables and Tony Elliott from the Tigers scrimmage yesterday. That was Tony Elliott you heard in the opening. He feels pretty good about his offense, and why shouldn't he? Brent Venables doesn't feel it. Is he, being falsely concerned there? Or does he really have some serious concerns about the defense with Bryant being injured and the injury to Kelly and young guys at defensive end? A young guy playing at one corner spot, things of that nature, all of that a concern for Brent Venables. But as I open up the phone lines, I want to ask you now, a couple of weekends to go before the regular season, a little bit shorter time for USC. Feel right now on this Friday night about your team at this stage. How do you feel? 800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalk. Recruiting day for USC and Clemson in a period of about 20 minutes. The commitment from defensive end MJ Webb from Madison, Georgia. Great pickup for USC. And then about 20 minutes later at noon, defensive back A.J. Terrell from Atlanta commits to Clemson. Tremendous pickup for the Tigers. Both players to fill needs in their respective programs. Clemson looking for a corner to replace Cordray Ackersley, a guy who could step right in and fill that position or compete for it right away. And South Carolina needs pass rushers and big defensive ends, and MJ Webb fills that spot for the Gamecocks. So 2 really good commitments for both teams today out of the state of Georgia. We'll give you more details in the recruiting report a little bit later on. We've got some other news notes for you. Qualifying is ongoing at Bristol. We'll update that. We'll have the full Monty on NASCAR for you as well, talking about things at Bristol and elsewhere around NASCAR. But I want to open up the lines and hear from you on this Friday night. How do you feel about your team? And you could be a Citadel fan knowing that your starting quarterback is out for the opening game. You could be a Wofford fan knowing that your starting quarterback is out for the season. You could be a Furman fan knowing that your starting quarterback, Reese Hannon, just can't stay healthy and make it through a season. And on down the line, If you've got a team that you want to talk about and share your feelings, 800-956-7266 is the number. First ones on the line will be the first ones to get into us tonight here on Sports Talk. Love to hear from you. Phil Kornblut on the road at a unknown location, hidden bungalow somewhere along the East Coast. We'll be back. Not in studio next week. Let's see. Monday, we're at Furman. Tuesday, we're at North Greenville. Wednesday, we're at the Citadel. And Thursday, we're at Coastal Carolina. So a busy, busy week on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour next week. Enjoyed being at the Citadel. Well, not really at the Citadel yesterday, over at Patriots Point with the Citadel folks for their golf outing. Had a terrific time with that. We've had a great time all week visiting with people at Benedict and Charleston Southern. Looking for more of it next week. 800-956-7266. Our email talkback at sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, the address is at SportsTalkSC. So how are you feeling at this point about your team with the season right around the corner? Upbeat, tremendously upbeat, extremely optimistic, lukewarm, one way or the other. You're not sure which way it's going to go for you, or maybe you're a little bit, concerned. Are any Clemson people concerned at this point? As once again, uninvited, Jared Rogers-Martin butts in.
I was saying, I was cutting up this Brent Venables audio earlier today, and it sounds like a lot of I don't knows, a lot of we'll see, we'll. So I think folks watching that Clemson team maybe will like to check out a little bit of what he has to say, and maybe might bring them back down a little bit. Tony Elliott, though, like you said, surprised. However, for the calls, we got some coming in. First, we're going to go to Glenn in North Charleston.
All right, Glenn in North Charleston. Welcome into Sports Talk on a Friday night. It's football. I watched NFL games all last night, replay after replay. My Packers won, by the way. How are you, sir? Good to have you with us.
Hey, how y'all doing this evening?
Good, good, good.
I'm talking about the start of high school football because the way it looks weather-wise down here in Charleston, I don't know, some of these teams may not go or may be delayed because of the lightning and thunder going all around. It's scattered right now, but be careful out there for those who are going, but be prepared for maybe a few delays, and Dave might be, aware of that too. So y'all might have some canceled games. So bumpers rolling around, but
if there's lightning anywhere in the vicinity, they'll clear the arenas and get people out of the way.
Yeah, I had lightning in my area. It was a pretty good one that just rolled by. So, hopefully by dark, when they start cooling down, and then they'll stop for the day, and maybe they can get some games going. So hopefully that'll happen.
Yep. What's your thought on the college season? You got a team that you want to share your thought about? Upbeat?
I'm upbeat about Carolina. I think Carolina's going to be a lot better this season than they have, and overall, I think they're going to have a pretty good season, and they'll just take one game at a time here.
All right. Thanks very much. We appreciate the phone call. 800-956-7266. So he's upbeat about the Gamecocks based on what he has heard. Unless you were one of the folks who went to one of the 3 practices this week, you haven't seen anything except for a few clips here or there. So all you can go by is what you've heard from the players and coaches. And, from USC, they're not talking. I wouldn't say they're talking in terms of how can I word this? They're being very cautious in what they say. They're not coming out talking like, hey, we're going to win this game, that game, da-da-da-da. It's more like wait and see. While over at Clemson, it seems to be more of here we come, we're going to go get it again like we did last year. The confidence level, because I think they've got something to show in their resume based on what they did last year compared to USC. So it's a little bit different. But I think South Carolina is going to beat Vanderbilt and then go from there. I think that that is a hugely important game to get off to a good start for them because it's Vandy. It's a winnable SEC road game. You got to take advantage of that. And you just have to think that despite everything that has happened in South Carolina with the coaching turnover and all that, they still have better talent overall than Vandy, and they're going to be better prepared offensively. I'm not going to say they'll be better coached because Steve Spurrier in that offensive unit was a pretty well coached unit for the most part, but I think they're going to be better set at quarterback. Whether it is Orth or McElwain coming out of it than they were last year. And defensively, I have no doubt that from top to bottom, they're going to be better coached and better prepared than they were last year. All right, more calls coming up, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment.
Yeah, you're right. Jerry Jerome. You there? Sorry, you heard me? Corn? Hey, David, this is Jared with Sports Talk. You about ready to hit this next segment? All right. Perfect. Well, we're coming to you in about 1 minute. Sounds good.
So how are you feeling about your team? Gamecocks, Tigers, Paladins, Bulldogs, Saints, Wolves, who am I forgetting? Chanticleers, all across the state, getting ready for the start of the college football season. And you know, whether you are a part of Gamecock Nation, you bleed Clemson orange, you're a fan of another team, everyone can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union with a convenient location at the Russell House on USC's campus and a new location now on Highway 93 in Clemson. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit joinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Couple of quick notes to pass along to you. Former USC basketball guard Marcus Stroman transferring to Louisiana Lafayette. This according to the former Gamecock captain Kerry Rich. Had to sit out this year, have 2 years to play. He had looked at Coastal, he had looked at Charleston Southern, but neither had a scholarship to give. I tweeted out something a little while ago. Stroman was a 4-star rated recruit in 2014 by rivals coming out of Kenan High School. And to me, just another example of the fraudulent nature of the ranking systems, because it's all based on projection and opinion. And when I say fraudulent, what I mean is you cannot predict what these players are. And too many people buy into it and believe their team's going to be great because they get this guy, this guy, this guy. And then when one flames out, they wonder why he didn't live up to the star ranking. Marcus Stroman was rated the 96th player in the country in his class. And look, I saw him play for 2 years. There's no way he was one of the top 100 players in the country based on what I saw. You can't be a point guard and not be able to shoot and score, from the outside. He was not – he was a good distributor and played good defense, things of that nature. But how could you be a top 100 player in the country and not be able to shoot? David Shelton of the High School Sports Report, as we welcome him in to Sports Talk. Fraudulent or not?
I never could shoot, so I can't comment on that. I was a dunker.
You believe in the rating system, the ranking system?
It's not a matter of I believe in them. It's just a fact of life. It's kind of like death and taxes. People are going to try to say they're experts and they're going to rate guys. And, I see some of them sometimes and I go scratch my head, and sometimes they're right and I'm wrong, and sometimes I'm right and they're wrong. And you see that a lot in football. Guys go to Clemson or South Carolina and 2 years later end up at a lower level school because they just weren't cut out. It's a different world. College is a different world. So, I'm going to see some good prospects here tonight. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get to it. I tell you what, for week 0, it's not a Friday night made up of 0 type games. We've got some great matchups. Mallard Creek at Dillon, Independence at Dutch Fork, Hannah at Gaffney, Westside at Greer, South Point Northwestern, Somerville going up to Spartanburg, and then tomorrow Burns comes to Myrtle Beach. So of those particular games, which one do you like the most, and what do you expect?
Well, all those are really good games. And don't forget Fort Dorchester's at the Eric Russell Classic tomorrow playing Sandy Creek High School out of Georgia, which is a really good program. So, I would say if I could go anywhere in the state and fly there really quick and watch a game and fly home really quick, I would go to Northwestern South Point. I think that's going to be, it's just a rival game. The Rock Hill area is loaded with football, and they had a great game last year. South Point went for 2 to try to win it and didn't get it. Northwestern beat them by 1. And, I think the Hannah Gaffney game looks good, but I like Hannah in that game. And I know Gaffney hadn't lost at home in a while, but they hadn't played an offense like they're going to see tonight. And they lost 15 starters at Gaffney. So they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's to keep up with Hannah tonight, I think.
Yeah, of course, they're playing that game at the old reservation because the new turf at their current stadium is not ready to be played on.
Right. And they didn't lose many games at the old field either. So
no.
Gaffney's going to be a good home team. Their people are going to get behind their kids, but at some point, talent and experience takes over. And when you look at the two teams, Hannah's loaded with experience and loaded with talent. Gaffney has talent, but not as much playing experience. So I'll tell you, this will be a good test for Hannah, though. If they're going to be a team that many people feel is going to be a true state title contender, you got to go win games like this. You got to prove you can win on the road against quality opponents. So if they go up there and lay an egg, then we might all backtrack a little bit. But if they go up there and play well and win, I think they're going to prove they're pretty much for real.
Yeah, I love to watch how talent ebbs and flows through various school districts and through various teams. I saw it at Richland Northeast, where they had that great run of talent for 3 or 4 years, and they rose to statewide prominence. And now Hannah is one of those teams that all of a sudden, all these highly rated. Here we go with the ratings again, but they're got guys in the recruiting rankings who are all being heavily recruited, getting all these early verbal offers. So it sounds like they're having one of those little runs now of young talent growing up within their school district.
Yeah, and I tell you the way I like to evaluate, quote unquote, evaluate talent is scholarship offers. And I talked to Bruce Allis a couple of weeks ago, and he said right now of the players on their team, they have 68 scholarship offers. Well, that tells me that they got some players. Now, 14 of them are with Stephon Wynn Jr., but that means that the rest of the team is getting, 40 scholarship offers. So that tells me there, and I'm talking FCS, FBS, not Division II. I'm talking Division I offers. So that tells me that they're pretty talented, and whether they're 2-star or 8-star or whatever, if Division I schools are offering scholarships, they're pretty good.
Yeah. Talking with David Shelton, High School Sports Report, and Charleston Post and Courier. Speaking of Anderson, the city, I mean, are we looking at now a renewal of that Hannah West Side rivalry that's going to rival Dorman Spartanburg and South Point Northwestern, and those great rivalries, Fort Dorchester, Somerville, et cetera, those great rivalries in the state?
Well, I think that could happen. I think you have to wait. You have to see if it stands the test of time. All those rivalries you just mentioned have been rivalries for a long time. Really good teams every year, or at least very good teams every year. So I think Hannah Westside last year, they played for the region title, which is the first time in a long time that's happened. I think this year they're going to play for the region title. They're both going to be 10-plus win teams. Now, if that continues over the next 5 to 10 years, then I think you will see that. Scott Early at Westside has not been known to stay places a whole long time, so we'll see how long he stays at Westside. But if he does, he's certainly going to build a winner because the guy knows what he's doing.
The Saturday game, Myrtle Beach and Burns. What's the over/under on total points scored in that one?
Well, I think there'll be some points scored, but I really, in my heart of hearts, I see that game being in the 20s. I think Myrtle Beach's defense is far ahead of their offense right now. They lost so much on offense. I mean, I don't know how they could be as good. So I think defensively they're really good. Burns is the same way. You look at what Burns lost and what they return on defense, and they're always good on defense. I think that's a very underrated part of their program, is how good they are at stopping people. So I really think both defenses are going to play well. It wouldn't shock me a 21-17 game. But if you're putting money on it, please don't use my advice, because just as soon as I say that, it'll be 50-48, and I'll look like a total idiot. But that's happened before.
All right, real quick. How many games will Charleston Charter Math and Science win this year?
2.
2, okay.
I think they'll win 2. I think they'll win 2.
Okay.
Which will be good. That's the over-under.
That's the over-under. My friend, thank you. We'll talk to you tonight on the high school scoreboards, and enjoy your game tonight.
Okay, man. Take care.
Thank you very much, David Shelton. Charleston Charter Math and Science playing tonight at First Baptist. Go check it out if you are a fan of either. We'll be back after the break. Back we are. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut here on a Friday night. Where's K-Mac? He's off. Where's the pro? He's off. Where's Jarmart?
Right here.
He's working. Jarmart's working. Corn's working. And we're glad to be working. Good to have you with us. And hope you had a great Friday. If you are driving around somewhere in the state, probably you are stuck in traffic somewhere. Columbia, Charleston, up in the upstate somewhere. Maybe you're headed to a high school football game. Enjoy yourself. It's going to be a great weekend. We are into the best time of the year. The only time it gets better, if you ask me, is when the baseball playoffs are thrown in as well. When we've got the baseball playoffs going on and college football and the NFL and the NASCAR playoffs all going at the same time, that's a great time of the year. And we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Would like it to get a little bit cooler, and hopefully that will happen real soon. Clemson wrapping up practice this afternoon. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney a little bit, and in a real little bit, we'll hear from offensive coordinator Tony Elliott, who talked after the scrimmage the other day, and he feels, of course, real good about the way things are going with his unit. Also some comments from Brent Venables, who spoke after the scrimmage yesterday. We'll bring you some of that. A couple of other notes. USC announced its newest selections for its Athletic Hall of Fame. 9 former Gamecocks are going in. Baseball player Ryan Bordenick, volleyballer Shonda Cole, football player Bo Davies. Wow, can't believe that he's just now going in. Most interceptions in a career, 14. Main contributor on defense to the 69 ACC championship game. 5th-round draft choice. And just now going into the Hall. Well, better late than never. Jimmy Mitchell going in, another stalwart from that 69 ACC championship team. He's going into the Hall. Sidney Rice, most deserving, going into the Hall of Fame. David Sewell, the great golfer, going in. Justin Smoke, outstanding baseball player, headed into the Hall of Fame. And also going into the Hall of Fame, these 2 coaches selected based on their significant contributions to USC athletics, other than on the field of play. Jim Carlin, football coach and athletics director, and Billy Laval, who was a football coach and baseball coach back in the 20s and 30s. So there you go. They'll be honored Thursday night, October 20th at the Zone at Williams-Brice and recognized prior to the football game on that Saturday against UMass. So there you go. The folks going into the South Carolina Hall of Fame. At Tennessee, Vols defensive tackle Alexis Johnson is back on the team from suspension. Coach Butch Jones said he did well academically and is good to go. So that's good news for Tennessee. We'll get you some notes on Clemson's practice here coming up. But yesterday, the Tigers had their last big scrimmage of camp before turning their full attention towards Auburn. Offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator Tony Elliott met with the media to review things, and he feels about the way things are going offensively. Let's take a listen.
So we moved the ball. We sustained some good drives. We were able to score some points in the red zone. Still too many penalties, some things we got to clean up. You know, guys being off for a day, getting acclimated to class. Thought we did some things that were uncharacteristic, but those are all correctable. But overall, it was good competition, split it up, and, you know, guys were getting to go against guys that they may not have gotten to go against all camp, but overall, pretty good.
How was the ball security during the scrimmage?
Ball security's been pretty good. Not many balls in terms of fumbling on the ground. We did have one interception there at the end. That was the only turnover of the day, but overall, I've been pleased with the ball security.
Did the receivers drop any passes or catch most everything?
You know, there was one that I wish they would have came up with down there here in the red zone for a touchdown. We drive and still convert for a touchdown. That was the one that I remember the most. Overall, those guys have made a lot of plays. They've caught a lot of balls, and again, it was an opportunity to get a bunch of guys a lot of work today, being that this is the last scrimmage.
What was the biggest improvement you saw from the last scrimmage to this scrimmage?
You know, just to consistent in being able to run the ball. That's something that we've been harping on, and you're continuing to see the good work up front. Guys are targeting well, being able to be consistent running the ball. It was tough because of the mix-up with the guys up front, not quite as consistent in protection. I thought we gave up a couple of shots potentially on the quarterback. We'll get that cleaned up, but overall, really pleased with the running game. And again, the chemistry starting to come along, and that usually takes a little bit longer in the passing game than it does in the running game.
How was Gage doing with the transition? Dabo said he looked like a pig in mud.
Well, I tell you what, now when he gets his hands on them, they're not going anywhere, and he's going to move those guys out of there. The big thing is just understanding our terminology. It's a completely different language from the other side of the ball. There's a lot more working together up front, double teams and things like that, and just getting used to that. But when he gets headed in the right direction, he knows what to do with them once he gets his hands on them.
Do you feel like you got enough out of these limited scrimmages? It's valuation point now, and you don't get another one of these. Wish you had one more.
You always wish you had one more as a coach, but we've got a lot of work. Coach Sweeney does a great job of creating all the situations so that you can see the guys under pressure. So I believe that we got enough information to make decisions and go forward. But again, everybody's got to be ready. That could change, as you get closer to a game. You're always one injury away. So even though you may make some decisions today, you still have to have those guys ready to play in case an injury does come up later in the season.
Who were you especially pleased with today? You might stand up.
Today, I thought Nick did a really good job. I said that earlier. He came out and had a good long drive down the field, did a good job in 2 minutes. Choice continued to find some runs, popped a good one there in the red zone for a touchdown. Ray made some plays. Mylan Richard, had a really, really good scrimmage. He made some really, really good contested plays, which I think he needed to help him with his confidence to be that guy that could spell leg it.
Who's stepping up in that punt returner role right now? Are there guys who are kind of standing out in that area?
We feel like we got some of the best, candidates back there in the country between Artavis and Ray, and then also as Hunter Renfro. And we had an opportunity to really emphasize punt return today. We'll go look at the film. I'm up in the box kind of watching on the front line, so I didn't get to see as much of what they did on the back end. But all those guys look confident catching the ball. Don't remember anything. Had to be any issues on the back end. But any one of those three guys can go out there. As long as the biggest challenge for us is to help them up front and challenge the guys on the front line. And my guys in particular, getting my running backs on that punt return team and taking ownership of special teams, because it's on us all. It's not just one man, it's not just one unit. It's every player in our program that has to take ownership. Wayne Gallman, putting him out there on punt return, putting C.J. Fuller out there on punt return, because those guys are used to blocking in space and being physical at the point of attack. And if we can do our job up front on that front line, then we got some of the most dynamic guys on the back end that can make things happen. And that's been a big point of emphasis this fall camp.
All right, Tony Elliott from the Tigers scrimmage yesterday. And, when you've got Deshaun Watson running your offense, how concerned can you be about things on the offensive side? They're going to be just fine on offense. I think right now, when you look at Clemson, whatever questions they might have revolves around the defense. Now, when you look at them matching up with Auburn, as we talked about it last night, we don't know yet who Auburn's going to start at quarterback. My feeling is, and I don't know anything, just going off what I've read, I think John Franklin III has got a real good chance to be the starting quarterback because he's very fast and athletic. And I think Gus Malzahn is going back to that fast-paced offense with, trying to get a snap off like every 12, 13 seconds. And with the speed at quarterback, running the spread option, the read option, and with Clemson's issues at defensive end, can you imagine Auburn just trying to attack the corners with a fast quarterback who can keep and break it off the end if the defensive end isn't playing his technique right, or perhaps tossing it to a trailing running back for plays like that. And I see Auburn trying to run the football, maintain possession, eat up clock, and keep Clemson's offense on the sideline. That has got to be their formula to have a chance to win. I think that's right now got to be a bit of a concern for Clemson. What do you think about your teams here as we head down the stretch of camp? 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Take some phone calls and give you some recruiting when we come back. Friday edition, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We are back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us on a Friday night. Phil Kornblut with you, along with Jared Rogers Martin. We'll get back to calls, 800-956-7266. How you feeling? How you feeling about your teams at this stage on the corner? A week from tomorrow. Let me tell you what you're doing a week from tomorrow. You're sitting on your couch, you're turning on ESPN, and you're watching Charleston Southern play North Dakota State. That's what you're doing a week from tomorrow. The football season, the college season gets underway for South Carolina teams a week from tomorrow. So it is coming at us. Recruiting, and I love these kind of days when we got good news for everybody. Everybody can be happy. First, Clemson defensive back A.J. Terrell, 6'2", 170 of Atlanta. He picked the Tigers over USC and Florida. He had also considered offers from Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, North Carolina, and Kentucky as he worked his way through the recruiting process. And he worked his way to Clemson the most over the summer. Makers cap by one last Saturday to watch practice. He also was at the All-In Cookout in late July and said that it was then, after the cookout, that it really hit him that Clemson was right for him. Loved the campus, loved the coaches, felt a connection with everybody, plus the opportunity for early playing time at boundary corner with Cordray Tankersley graduating. He had 55 tackles and 2 interceptions last season. He is Clemson's 13th commitment for the 2017 class. He's closing down recruiting, but he is not graduating early. Meantime, about 20 minutes before Terrell announced his commitment, the Spurs up alert from Will Muschamp went out. But this one was pretty simple because we knew that MJ Webb, now even though he told us earlier in the week he wasn't going to commit, maybe he was hiding something from you. And he indeed did commit. He confirmed it with a post on Twitter not too long after Muschamp sent out the Spurs up alert. Webb picked the Gamecocks over Auburn, Tennessee, and Kentucky. And in the process, he also had offers from Clemson, Nebraska, Florida State, Michigan, Notre Dame, LSU, and Georgia. He made 4 visits to USC during the recruiting season, capped by today's visit with his coach. He brought his grandmother in for one visit. He was also in for the Spurs Up cookout in late July. And in speaking with him earlier in the week about Muschamp, Webb said that he could look at him and tell that he is a go-get-it guy, and he thinks he's going to get the job done at USC. Tackles and 7 sacks last season, and he gives the Gamecocks 21 commitments for the 17 class. Now USC has another defensive end it would love to bring in Matthew Butler of Garner, North Carolina. He's still receiving interest from his top 4, USC, NC State, Duke, and Tennessee. He's been focusing on his season of late, but pretty soon he's going to start taking some visits to schools to watch games. He plays the Alabama game. He wants to go to a USC's game against East Carolina. State played Notre Dame. He's not sure what Duke game he'll get to. He has those 4 teams still at the top of his list. He's not citing a favorite. USC commitment cornerback Tavin Jackson of Tallahassee has been planning recently to visit other schools, but he's unsure if he'll do that at this point. He is considering visiting Oregon State, South Florida, and Indiana because he's never been to those campuses and he'd like to see them. But he still frequently communicates with Will Muschamp and Mike Peterson and Travaris Robinson. And he said that he's told Muschamp that he's going to visit other places possibly. And he said Muschamp is fine with that. However, he said Muschamp has told him that he's got a job to do. And if Jackson's going to go shopping, then Muschamp's going to go shopping as well. So, you know, the code there is, you know, you put your scholarship at risk if you go visit other schools, though he's not, you know, threatening to take it away or anything like that. He said he does keep in touch with the coaches at Indiana frequently, and he knows he can take an official visit there if he wants. And he said he undoubtedly is going to visit South Carolina soon. In basketball, now we've got a report here on the internet of some visitors to South Carolina. 2018 wing Brandon Slater to visit South Carolina tomorrow. This according to Corey Evans. I think he's with Phenon Hoops. And also they report that David McCormick, who's a big man, David McCormick is on campus today. I think he's a 2018 guy as well. So Frank Martin having a couple of guys on campus. And, of course, Clemson's got its big man on campus this weekend for an official visit through tomorrow night in Obina from Nigeria, who goes to a school in Virginia. So we're keeping a close watch on that as well. All right, there you go with recruiting. Be sure to check it out regularly on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. Speaking of Twitter, a couple of comments there about my comment regarding Marcus Stroman and the fact that he's transferring after 2 years at USC to Louisiana Lafayette. And I made the comment both on Twitter and on the show that here's a case again, and we see this a lot, where a highly rated guy doesn't pan out, doesn't live up to his ranking at the school that he attends. In this case, Marcus Stroman, I'm using Rivals ranking now, was ranked a 4-star recruit. He was the 94th ranked player in the country in 2014 when he signed with USC. So, good reason to be excited based on that if you're a fan who hadn't seen him play. And if you saw him in high school, his numbers were good. He led Keenan to state championship, I believe. And it seemed like he was a really good player. But, you never really saw that from him at USC, to be quite honest with you, in his 2 years. Maybe it was a bad fit. Maybe he's going to go to Louisiana Lafayette and shine big time. Who knows? Again, I think a guy with limited offensive skills that he showed at South Carolina is going to have a hard time, which leads you to question, how could you be ranked among the top 100 players? I raised the question about it being a fraudulent ranking, because to my eyes, having seen him play a lot, it didn't look that way. So I feel comfortable in making that statement because he's a player that I happen to have seen a number of times. So we've had some people on Twitter chime in on that. A man on a mission asked, what do you mean you felt he didn't fit into Frank's system? Well, I just explained to you what I mean. And fitting into a system, what does that mean? You have to adjust. You know what you're going into as a player. You know what the coach is like as a coach, and you know the kind of system that he runs. So, to some degree, a coach is not going to fold up everything that he's taught and drawn up over all these years to fit one guy. Unless you're Michael Jordan, somebody like that, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Marcus Stroman doesn't fit into that category. Bro Lina asked, what's fraudulent about it? Honest question. That was an honest question. I gave you an honest answer about it. Tyler Lucas writes, I don't know about fraudulent, maybe too subjective. I don't think so. I think it's very objective to look at a player's performance and hold it up against the ranking that the so-called experts gave him. That's why I laugh and remind everybody out there, don't live by these rankings. And if the people who are ranking aren't serious about it, then how can you have the authority to be putting a ranking on somebody? When you say somebody's a 4-star, you better believe and mean that he's going to go wherever he goes and plays like a top 100 player in the country. And I'm just using Marcus as an example. I'm not trying to pick on him. It's just this is a case where his transfer information has now come out, and it gave me the opportunity to go down this road. He's not a top 100 player from having watched him many times over his career, and thus I think the ranking, the 4-star ranking, is fraudulent, misleading, and misplaced. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Well, I think we're in a good spot. I mean, I think when you set out at the beginning.
Now that you've had a chance to look at the film from yesterday, thoughts on this team and where it stands?
Well, I think we're in a good spot. I mean, I think look 3 weeks down the road, but I think that we've really accomplished a lot. I thought it was a good scrimmage. We got the work that we needed to get.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We are back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut on this Friday night. Dabo Swinney coming your way in just a moment. Hot off the practice field, hot off the hot practice field at Clemson. You'll get the very latest from the Tigers head coach right here on Sports Talk in just a moment. I want to respond to a tweet back at us here at Sports Talk, at SportsTalk SC. And we've had some comments about my comment regarding the ranking for Marcus Stroman and how I think it's fraudulent and that sort of thing. Not just him. I think many of these rankings are way off base and questionable. And you heard David Shelton talking as well earlier. He questions some things as well from his perspective. Writes back to us and says, don't disagree. His rating was way off. Fraudulent just sounds nefarious. Are you suggesting that I'm suggesting that it's criminal to give somebody a rating that's way off base? Or I'm not suggesting criminal intent here or any sort of misdeed or anything like that. I'm just saying too many people put their trust in too many people who don't know what they're talking about. And it's like going to the doctor. And if you go to a doctor and you're having pain in your foot, and he tells you he's going to operate on your shoulder, I think you're going to question that. And so here with these rankings, you see people getting these 4- and 5-star rankings, and then when they perform, you go, how is that possible? And then fan bases wonder why their teams don't win. And I go also back to the argument that guys who are great players who perform at a high level on the college football field coming off their high school careers, they're good players. The star system didn't make them good players. They're good players, and you identify them based on how you see them perform. You can also, I'm like David, I judge by the professionals who offer these scholarships that over their lifetime can be worth $100,000, $200,000, depending on the school. So they're spending a lot of money on these players and investing a lot of time and energy in their professional expertise, and they miss a lot. They get it wrong. They make offers to players who don't pan out and make mistakes. So if the pros are making a lot of mistakes, what about the rank amateurs out there on the websites who lure people in with these rankings? And then, the writers, unfortunately, many in our business are very lazy, and just rely on the rating system to identify the quality of a player and just slap, he's a 5-star, he's a 4-star, he's a, and to me, it's misleading and is somewhat disingenuous, and it's damaging to the player. Because Marcus Stroman, I'm using him as an example, I expected much more. I'm sure Gamecock fans expected much more because of the so-called 4-star ranking. And he didn't play like it. So, draw your own conclusion, do what you want, but, I'm never going to yield to that. I'll tell you that right now. Dabo Swinney picked up a 5-star recruit today. Hey. Now, is A.J. Terrell going to come in and be an All-American at Clemson and lead the nation in interceptions and leave after 3 years and become an NFL All-Pro? Well, the 5-star ranking would certainly indicate he's going to do that. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Time will tell. But Dabo today met with the media just a little while ago after the Tigers' latest practice session. They're starting to turn that corner now towards Auburn. Get that game to his comments a little while ago right after practice. Here's Dabo Swinney.
Well, I think we're in a good spot. I think when you set out at the beginning of camp, you got so much to do. It's kind of hard to look 3 weeks down the road, but I think that we've really accomplished a lot. That was a good scrimmage. We got the work that we need to get done from a just an open field competitive standpoint, but then we got a lot of situational things and some really good 2-minute work, and we had a lot of good coaching 2-minute work too. That just some things that just happened. That was good for us as coaches as well. So it was a good day. A lot of special teams work, and I think we're where we need to be. I mean, we're still got time to get ready to play. We're not physically where we need to be. It's been a long 3 weeks, so now it's about starting to get their legs back. They've had a lot on them this week, finishing camp, starting school. Now you jump in, you get one more scrimmage. Now you get into some scout team stuff. We haven't been scout teams. We've been repping 3 groups. Now you're repping 2 groups. So there's just a lot going on, but hopefully come Monday, these guys maybe have a little bit more bounce in their step and start bringing them back up just a little bit. But, again, overall, I think we're heading in the right direction.
Were you happier with the defense yesterday than you were in the previous scrimmage?
Yeah, they didn't give up as many big plays. We had a lot of the effort was better. I thought, again, it wasn't as hot, but I thought the last scrimmage last Saturday we just kind of gave into it a little bit. But it was good. I thought they played with good energy. We had a few big. I don't think our first group gave up a busted big play, but we had a couple with the second group from a couple of young guys, and it was I'm glad it happened because he gave us an opportunity to kind of teach them on a couple of things. But solid.
Big topic of conversation around here since January has been kickoff coverage. But what have you seen out of Greg Hewlett? It sounds like he's really improved his leg strength.
Yeah, it was something he just showed up in camp last year, and it wasn't something that we were going to ask him to do. We really just focusing on trying to win the field goal job, and hadn't been in our off-season program and things like that. And a lot like Catanzaro as far as how he's developing physically. I mean, this kid has really worked in the off-season. But I think about every kickoff he had was about 3 or more yards deep in the end zone. He was kicking into the wind. I had him kicking into the wind because we were working on return, and I wanted to make sure we had a good return opportunity. That Gumpy didn't kick it deep in the end zone anyway, so but it was good. We got a lot of work done, and I'm proud of him. He's had a really he had a good start. Then I thought he fell off and slowed down a little bit, and kicked him in the butt a little, and he responded.
Someone starting to separate it all at backup punter?
Not really. They're all kind of just have their good days and their bad days. They're kind of lumped right there together. So that's the decision we'll probably just hang on to until we get a little closer, decide who we're going to put on the bus.
Any redshirting decisions?
Yeah, we've made a few, and then some other guys are definitely going to play, and then still got a few guys that when I say on the bubble, we're going to just probably try to keep getting them ready and just wait and see, and if we can hold them, great. If not, we'll have to play it. So, but a lot dictates that. There's a lot, as y'all know, there's a lot that can happen the first 2 or 3 games of the season. So we got 2 or 3 guys like Cleveland last year that we're going to continue to get ready, and if we need them, we'll play them. But if not, at some point, we'll say, all right, let's hold them.
Did I hear someone ask a question about the backup punter?
What I heard.
Did I? How's the competition going for the backup? What idiot asked that question? Oh my goodness!
I don't know. It's just one that's been kicking me all day, Corn. It's been kicking me all day.
The backup punter. How about the backup snapper? How's that competition coming? And I tell you what, I hope somebody asked about the battle for the backup holder at the next media session, because we need to know about the backup holder as well.
I mean, it could be me. It could be a walk-on. So
I should be in a better mood on a Friday, but the more I discuss things, the worse my mood becomes. I think I'm gonna get a drink here during the break and calm down. Not an alcoholic drink, but just a calming beverage here during the break, and then we'll be in a better mood when we come back. The backup punter, how is that competition going? That's where we are today, folks. 800-956-7266. Back in a moment.
good hitting, good effort, good positioning. So it was good, a lot of good situational work. It was a good day.
What have you seen from those guys that'll be able to help you replace?
It's an eager group. They're out. Good positioning. Work.
And what have you seen?
Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. I want to remind you, High School Scoreboard Show comes up tonight across the state, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 11 o'clock with our live 5-minute scoreboards. More scores in 5 minutes than any other show gives you in an hour. All right, so make sure you find us. We'll be on Camden. We'll be on Johnston. Myrtle Beach will be there. We'll be coming out of Newberry and Walterboro. Our Columbia stations will have us, also in Loris, in Florence and Kingstree, also Lamar and Sumter, Orangeburg and Chirac, Greenville, Barnwell, and Allendale. We'll be in all those spots with our scores tonight, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 11. We'll have the list of stations up on the website. If you can't find us over the air, you'll be able to find us on the website. We'll have the shows posted for you there. And also, of course, via the I would try the TuneIn app with our Columbia affiliate, WQXL in Columbia, the Point Radio. They'll have our show streaming through the TuneIn app for sure. So another way that you can get us should you not be able to find us over the airwaves. I want to mention that the Wyndham Championships in Greensboro going on, and Lucas Glover, the former Clemson star, he went low today. He shot a 61. 9 under par, puts him at 10 under for the tournament, 2 back of the lead. He's in a tie for second place. Siwoo Kim leads at 12 under. Oh, he shot 60 today. My goodness. We almost had someone else go into the 50s. He shot a 60 today, 10 under par. Siwoo Kim leads at 12 under. Kevin Na, Hideki Matsuyama, Jim Furyk, and Lucas Glover, they're all at 10 under. So some very good numbers being posted there. Russell Henley's at 6 under. Bill Haas is at 6 under. Kyle Stanley's at 6 under. Sam Saunders is at 4 under. Scott Brown's at 4 under. Kevin Kisner's at 3 under. DJ Trahan, Bill McGirt. Trahan's at 1 under, and McGirt is at +1. Wesley Bryan is at 2 over. Ben Martin is at 4 over. And the cut fell at -3. So even 1 under is not going to be enough for the weekend, but Kisner makes it on the number. All right, qualifying ongoing at Bristol for tomorrow night's race. Carl Edwards currently on the pole. They are going into round 3, 131.407. The top speed by Carl Edwards. So he leads things going into the final round of qualifying. And we'll have more on that coming up from Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR, in just a little bit. In the meantime, Clemson football. Of course, we're loaded up with Clemson football tonight because the Tigers practiced and they had media avail with Dabo Swinney. They had their scrimmage yesterday, and the audio, of course, came into us after the show, so we didn't get a chance to get to it. And nothing new from USC today in terms of interviews because none were made available to us. There'll be nothing new from USC until Muschamp's conference call on Sunday, which we will have covered for you on our website, sportstalksc.com. So we brought you Swinney from today. On the offensive side, Tony Elliott from yesterday. Let's give you the defensive perspective with Brent Venables. Of course, the big story from Clemson this week, the injury to defensive end Austin Bryant. Let's hear what he had to say about that.
What have you seen from those guys that'll be able to help you replace Austin Bryant?
It's an eager group. They're athletic. We've got good length, good strength, intelligent guys. and he's got to gain experience playing.
Do you feel like you've seen enough now to evaluate and pare down some guys, or should you have this one more scrimmage?
I think that, we've got, probably the first month of the season, kind of continue to develop and mix and match and things of that nature. I think each week presents different issues, moving forward. So I think that we know more about more guys now. It's a long season, and I think we still have a window in the first 4 weeks of the season to kind of figure out some things as well. But I think we're in a good spot. We've got a chance to be a really good defense. We've got to improve in a lot of areas, both just technique, knowledge, experience, consistency. But it's a group of guys, again, easy to coach, and they like to play, they're willing to work, and we've got good talent. So we've got to put them in a good position.
Were you more pleased with the second corner today?
Yeah, they were pretty good. We'll see. I've got to watch tape. I didn't see any balls going over anybody's head, so it's good. We were in good position the other day. I made a couple of competitive plays. What happened? Every snap is a different story, and there's always a story within the story. And so if we had bad technique or looking in the backfield, or you're not playing too deep right, and you don't get a jam on number one, and they hit a boundary route in front of the safety, you're being lazy, you're taking things like that. Then you have an issue. But they had three balls that got behind us, and the rest of the day, I think we played good pass defense.
Which freshmen have done enough to maybe earn some snaps at Auburn?
Freshmen? That's the names like Trayvon, Javon. Who else? Dexter, Trey.
Has Trey, is he pushing Kendall at all for that top spot, or is he still far enough behind?
Pushing?
Yeah.
I would say that's fair. Kendall's doing really well. Trey's doing really well. And, feel good about our depth there. Those couple of guys in particular.
You mentioned looking for Kayvon. You guys are going to have to make a decision on safety corner pretty soon.
I don't have an answer for that, but I think he shows his versatility. Not being evasive, he can play. He can do a lot of things. We've looked at him a bunch of different positions, and he's really done pretty well. When you consider he lacks the experience and knowledge and film study and repetitions, he's a good football player. So I think he's got a good future if he keeps his head on straight, keeps grinding. But his barometer's heading in the right direction.
How has Gabriel handled the move to end?
He's been good. He's a tough guy. He's quick. He's super physical. Got good pass rush. And good, strong, and hold one attack. Physical guy. He's been good.
Will he be ready to play at that position against Auburn?
I don't know. Ready to play? Travel?
Well, no. Actually,
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I hope so. And he hasn't looked back. We got to get him refined there. He'll be okay. We wouldn't have moved him if we didn't think he could help us. Whether that's a fifth guy or whatever.
Is it realistic that he could be?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know if you have a set number, but how many ends do you need?
You need
two.
Well, you need two. We did that last year, right? You need two. He played more and he played both though.
Played both and band. Yeah. What has he shown you? Because he had the spring and now
I'm glad he did. And with the foresight, let's see him out here. He played it in high school. He's big, long. Don't sleep on a 300-pounder because that guy can move. And he leads our defense in fall camp in extra second effort plays. He shows up on that screen every single practice with extra effort. Can really move and got great burst. He's a sub-5 flat 40 guy, 300 pounds. He's different.
Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables is briefing with the media yesterday after the Tigers' final major scrimmage of camp. So you could hear a number of questions about the critical defensive end position. And I was waiting for somebody to ask about the backup punter spot with him, because that's obviously a critical spot as well in the minds of at least one nut job up there. But that did not come up in this particular conversation. So Brent Venables got a few concerns looking ahead to Auburn. Be right back. Welcome back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Football Friday in South Carolina. High school football breaking out all over the place, and as we've already documented, some great games tonight, so get out and enjoy. Be sure to catch all the scores right here on our high school scoreboard shows beginning at 10, 10:30, and 11. We'll get you all the scores from across the state tonight, plus commentary from David Shelton. What goes along with football? But, of course, NASCAR. It's a big NASCAR weekend with the night race at Bristol coming up tomorrow night. And I tell you, as Monty Dutton joins us for the full Monty on NASCAR, it's a great weekend when you can combine football of some nature, Monty, with Bristol. The two just seem to go hand in hand.
They're really going to go hand in hand later on when Virginia Tech and Tennessee play there.
This is true. That's going to be quite a scene to watch a football game at that big old bowl. But, you know, racing at Bristol's a lot like football. It's probably, the most physical race on the schedule?
It's right up there. I would say that Martinsville's similar. Martinsville's not as fast and not as frenetic. Darlington's going to have a little contact. There's not enough room for everybody down there. But Bristol is certainly famous for that.
What did you learn coming out of the practice sessions and coming out of the garage areas?
Probably one of the most damnable things for Bristol fans is the fact that Bush Brothers are so good there. Because I actually think that in some ways, many of the most famous times where Kyle Busch has bowed grandly to the crowd like he was some pro wrestler bad guy, he just kind of edged it on. I think it's sort of the two Bush Brothers have both been splendid over the years at Bristol, and I think it grates on the people there. And so I actually think that's sort of I find that sort of amusing and entertaining, and I think I would feel that way whether I was and a big fan of the two Bush Brothers or if I wasn't.
Yeah. Of course, that's a testament to their talents and to their success. But don't you think Kyle Busch here of late, with winning the championship and continuing his success this year and his, shall we say, milder off-the-track behavior has won over a bunch of those fans?
He has, but I think that it has been my observation over the years that Kyle Busch is always a wonderful fellow when things are going his way. And so having witnessed the declaration of the new Kyle Busch ever since he's been around, I tend to hold back until, he's on the wrong end. I think that's really the test. I think that's the test with most athletes. It's easy to behave and be classy when things are going your way. The true test of character is when things don't go your way. So I would prefer to watch both Kurt and Kyle. I would like to see them tastefully handle adversity before I go overboard singing their praises.
Of course, now, before we spend too much time talking about them, it was really Denny Hamlin in practice who he ran a bunch of laps. Looking at the stats, he ran 61 laps in practice today. His average was 126.7. Actually, he ran 70 laps, and his average speed, his top 10 average speed between 61 and 70 hit 126.7. So my point is, he's the guy that over a 10-lap run turned in the best average speed. So Denny Hamlin coming off a win at Watkins Glen. I guess he's somebody else you got to keep an eye on this weekend.
Well, all of those Toyotas in the Gibbs stable are going to be factors in this race. Carl Edwards is fast, and he won it. He's done well at Bristol lately. I think he won last year, at least one of the two races. So there's going to be a lot of people. I think that the interesting factor in this race is that Bristol has been tinkered with again. And what they have done this time is they have put a coating, a sealer, as it were, on the bottom half of the racetrack. Because what changed in that track in recent years is the preferred groove went from the bottom to the top. And it has made the racing a little bit more tame for the simple reason that if you nudge and bump someone up next to the wall, it's much harder to avoid getting into it yourself. And what many people have loved about Bristol is the sort of process where down low on the track, when somebody won't get out of your way, somebody gives you about 2 turns to get your business done, and then they bump you out of the way. And that's not quite as risky a maneuver on the bottom, and it makes the races more exciting and action-packed if the action is at the bottom instead of the top. Now, I don't know if they can achieve that, but I think that's what everyone will be watching for Saturday night.
Yeah, you talk about the old bump and run. I mean, that was a move that Dale Earnhardt really made famous at Bristol, didn't he? I mean, he would come up behind you, he'd nudge you up the track, or you nudged him up the track, he'd come back down below you and kind of bump you out of the way and go past you all in the same couple of turns on the same lap.
Well, it's funny how those incidents happen, because the most famous ones are the ones that happen in the last part of the race. But there were times when Earnhardt was there, there'd be a big incident like the 2 incidents between he and Terry Labonte, one of which Labonte won and one of which he won. The race that Labonte won, he crossed the finish line backwards. Earnhardt Jr. made sure he didn't get to the finish line the next time. But the fact is, that's one of those areas where nudging someone is an act of great skill. Knocking them out of the way is an act of great destruction. But there were times when Earnhardt, that the spectacular incident was about the 12th time Earnhardt had pulled that little deal. And so Bristol is a place that is wildly exciting, but in some sense, at least the way it was 10 or more years ago, it was also a place that sort of brought out the worst in racers from time to time, because it's a place, people talk about passing. There have been some great Bristol races that didn't have 10 lead changes, because what's exciting there is that it's hard to pass, and people lose their patience and take the law into their own hands, so to speak. And I think it's fairly acceptable that you get away with it there.
Well, we're heading down the stretch of the regular season. And as I look at the numbers, we've got 10 drivers locked into the chase. Tony Stewart would make 11. He is chase. And then you've got 5 others in the top 16 who are not yet locked in, and then several just outside trying to get in. So we still have a chance for a bunch of maneuvering here over the next few weekends before we get to the postseason.
Well, the fact is, Chris Buescher is 6 points out of 30th. And if he makes 30th, and I figure with a chance of another Ford in the chase, that type of thing, I expect he's going to have better equipment than he has, because the Ford people are going to give him some assistance. And so I think that he is likely to make the chase. So if you count him, there's 12. And so what happens is it's like the old Indy qualifying, where you're on the bubble. Jamie McMurray is on the bubble right now. But if one more outsider wins a race, Jamie McMurray could, but also somebody like Casey Kane, for instance. One there wins a race, then that switches the bubble back to somebody else. If Jamie McMurray falls outside of the chase bubble, then the next person who might be in trouble would be Chase Elliott, who could win too. So the math gets kind of changeable. It becomes a moving target in the last few races, and there's still 4 of them. And so I think that it's very interesting regardless of how it goes.
All right, we've talked about the Bushes. We've talked about Hamlin. Who do you like to come away tomorrow night? Who's going to be there at the end to pull this thing out?
Let me see. Most of my hunches lately have not played out. I think I'm going to go with Kurt Busch.
You do like Kurt Busch. Okay, well, you know what? He's got, 5 wins at Bristol, 16 top 10. So he is a guy that is has had a great career there, as we pointed out early on, as has his brother. Okay, my friend, you have a great weekend. Enjoy football and racing, and we'll talk to you next week.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
The full Monty on NASCAR, Monty Dutton, with us here on Sports Talk. Check out more from Monty on his terrific blog, which, of course, is MontyDutton.com. Hit a break. We'll be back. right, let's continue with our previews of SEC and ACC teams. It's Virginia Tech tonight. Carson Mason takes a look.
Justin Fuente is the new head honcho in Blacksburg, Virginia, as he'll begin his first year coaching Virginia Tech. Fuente replaces the school's all-time winningest coach, Frank Beamer, who retired at the end of last season. When Fuente first took the position in November, he quickly had to jump right into the job.
The first thing we did was try to assemble a staff, get a handle on the staff dynamic and how it was gonna work. We had to get caught up on the current commitments that Coach Beamer and his staff had already had. We actually had 9 guys that were scheduled to come in at midterm, so we were really pressed for time to make sure we reached out to those guys and got in front of those kids because they were going to start school in the winter session.
Some of the new additions to Fuente's staff include safeties coach Galen Scott, cornerback coach and former NFL player Brian Mitchell, and offensive coordinator Brad Cornelson, among others. One of the end, what he said, his staff was well received, especially in the home state.
It's been a great reception. We've done everything in our power to reach out to those areas in the state of Virginia through our clinics. And we had clinics in Blacksburg. We participated in clinics in Richmond. We participated in clinics in Northern Virginia as an entire staff. We put on our own clinic in the 757 Virginia Beach area to try and extend those invitations and build those relationships.
Along with the new commitments, Fuente will inherit a team that went 7-6 last season and won the Independence Bowl 55-52 over Tulsa. 15 starters will be returning, but that does not include starting QB Michael Brewer. Brewer started in 7 games last season because he missed 5 due to a broken collarbone in the season opener. In the 8 games he did play, he threw for 1,700 yards and 13 passing touchdowns. That means somebody will have to replace Brewer as the starter this season, but the competition is still ongoing. The Hokies have a couple of intriguing options, but junior college transfer Gerard Evans and senior Brendan Motley have separated themselves from the pack. Motley took over for Brewer after his injury and started in 6 games in 2015. He completed 56% of his passes for almost 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Evans transferred, he led the conference in passing yards per game with almost 4,000 and touchdowns with 38. He also landed in the top 5 in 4 other categories: completions, attempts, completion percentage, and total yards during his JUCO career. Whoever gets to be in the driver's seat will have an ample amount of protection from the Hokies' veteran offensive line. Tackle Jonathan McLaughlin, guards Wyatt Teller, Conti, and center Eric Gallo are all returning. Defensively, Tech lost 3 starters up front, but they do have a decent amount of experience returning. Defensive end Ken Ekanem and defensive tackles Woody Barron and Nigel Williams will all be back. The Hokies will kick off their regular season against the Liberty Flames September 3rd, and they'll wrap it up against in-state rival Virginia on November 26th. For Sports Talk, I'm Carson Mason.
Okay, Carson Over, thank you very much. We appreciate the update. We'll continue with those over the next couple of weeks, leading off to the kickoff of the college football season. Qualifying is over. Bristol, Carl Edwards is on the pole, 131.407. Denny Hamlin next at 131.2. Then it's Kyle Busch at 130.9. Ryan Blaney at 130.6. Ryan Blaney driving a car decked out in Virginia Tech colors, the Virginia Tech Motorcraft. So Virginia Tech putting some money into this race. Matt Kenseth will start 5th at 130.619. Jeff Gordon driving the 88 once again. He qualified 11th. Looking forward to the night race at Bristol. Always a lot of fun. That big bull ring at Bristol Motor Speedway. All right, final minutes of the program. If you want to catch a line, you got a couple of minutes to do so. 800-956-7266 is the number. Another tweet into us, going back to the comment about fraudulent player rankings. Patrick Warren tweets in, responding to the earlier tweet about the sound nefarious. But he used an acronym here, Jarmart, that I don't. It's tweetology. I don't know.
Hit me with it.
IANAL.
IANAL.
Yeah, is that a word or is that a acronym for something in?
This might be one for the Google machine.
Yeah, in a normal American league. I don't know what that is. He said, doesn't fraud actually require knowing deception? Well, look, I'm not going to get all legalese here on you. I'm just saying, in my world, in talking about sports, people who take on the job of writing for websites and analyzing talents, making themselves self-described analysts. Okay, do you go to school to become an analyst? Do you have to play a certain level of a sport to be qualified to analyze other people and other talent? It's not like, people in the media get analyzed all the time by their listeners, their viewers, or their readers. Okay, and you don't have to have gone to journalism school to analyze what I do or what somebody on television does or what somebody writes. I mean, that's something you can do commonsensically. But I think something as important as just as forecasting what an individual is going to do in their future and then turning that around and selling it to a hungry public, requires a certain amount of knowledge, education, and skill. Some have it, some don't. And even the best, as we know, get it wrong because the NFL front office people get it wrong in the draft all the time.
50%?
Okay,
Lower.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. It's an inexact science. I will take credit for coining the phrase many years ago, that recruiting is an inexact science. Others now use that phrase as their own, but I started it. But anyway, I think that when you say somebody is a 4-star, then by God, that guy had better have a certain level of talent and. It's one thing if you live up to the star ranking with your talent and you show it and things don't work out. But in this particular case, maybe I expect too much from a guy rated a 4-star in basketball. To me, it's pretty easy to see in basketball if you have it or not. It's more difficult in football. How do you determine an offensive lineman who you rank 15th in the country at offensive tackle? How do you say a guy is the 15th best offensive tackle in the country and a guy, that you see in another part of the country and you rank him 35th?
It's easy.
How do you differentiate the 20 spots between the two? Because, this guy puts his knuckles in the ground. The other guy keeps his knuckles straight up and just puts his fingers in the ground. I mean,
you just grab a dartboard. You grab a dartboard and dart. And where it lands on the dartboard is what his number is.
I think you're probably right about that to some degree. Hey, Jarmart, what are you doing this weekend?
Hey, this weekend I'm going to hit up a little bit of Charleston action, and then
look out, ladies of Charleston, look out.
Got my new car, so got to take it on a spin for the weekend. So we're doing that. Catch up this Braves game tonight and watch some preseason football.
Are you on the prowl when you go to Charleston?
Maybe on the prowl for some good food, some shrimp and grits probably is what I'm looking for. I'm looking to eat my way to an early grave there.
You'll find that in Charleston. Ain't no doubt. Okay, want to remind everybody, high school scoreboard show tonight, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 11. We'll give you more scores in fewer time than anybody else. So check it out. If you need to know the station list is on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Thank you, Jarmart. Great job. Thanks to all of our wonderful affiliates. Thanks to our sponsors for this week. And thanks to all of you for making Sports Talk the most listened to sports talk show every night in South Carolina. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday night here on Sports Talk. Man, I was full of